Ladies and gentlemen, we are back with the Lights Out podcast. We got a lot to talk about. We are hours away or hours removed from UFC 330. I'm with my boy Ant here. We're ready to talk about it. Starting with the main event, man. This thing was a banger. This main event was a banger. What are your thoughts on the main event, Ant? We had Ian Machado Gary taking on the pound for pound king right now, Islam Makhachev, for the UFC welterweight championship. What were your thoughts on the main event?
I mean, it was closer than I thought it would be. Honestly, I honestly truly believe that Islam was gonna dominate, but no, dude. Honestly, Ian Gary really pushed him to the limit. I mean, I don't think we've ever seen anybody really put a beating on Islam since at least the Volkanovski fight, or even like before that, like when his first loss. Obviously, I when Islam lost his first fight in the UFC, like we haven't seen really anybody put the pressure on him like that. He's just been able to dominate like quick. Like he's been able to make real short work of his opponents or like drag him out in the deep end. I mean, obviously we saw what he did to JDM, and we obviously saw what happened again with the two Volkanovski fights. So I mean, mad props to Ian Gary, man. Obviously, crowd was obviously in the favor of Islam, and obviously they really didn't want Ian Gary to win. But I mean, it was a bit of a blur, but it was also it was close too. I mean, I think I think what really surprised me was you could really see how frustrated Islam was getting as the fight kind of drew on. Like he wasn't able to get his takedowns as many as he wanted to. Like obviously Gary was able to stuff like most of them and like really like somewhat turn the tables on Islam. But in the end, it was a valiant effort from Ian Gary. But obviously, we can't take away from what Islam has been able to do, and now he has passed Anderson Silva for most successful title defenses in UFC history. And honestly, hell, he's earned it, man. I think he's earned that spot. I don't agree with the 49-46 scorecards. I think that was a bit of a how do I say it? Bit of a
I
mistake.
mean,
A mistake, I guess. I don't know. I don't see the 49-46. I really don't. I mean, maybe you can get. I had Islam up 3-2 on my scorecard, but I mean, there's no doubt Islam got definitely deserved the win. But I just think 49-46 is a bit of a reach.
yeah, I mean, what else is new? Uh it was a good fight. I think this was one of Islam's most interesting fights just because Ian Gary was able to bring it to him. I don't think anyone's brought it to him like that in a long time. I think he's been dominant for a very long time.
I think
Even
the
against
last time.
Volkanovski, he knocked his ass out. Like
I mean, the
he's been
first fight.
dominant for a long time.
But the first fight, Volkanovski really brought it to Islam. I mean, that's one of those where that one was so close. Like that was a razor's edge, honestly. I think that fight could have gone any way, especially like that very first fight. But I mean, like you said, Islam's been real dominant, and like I think my only real complaint with oh actually no, I'll start off with a positive for Islam. I love that head kick he landed. That was honestly beautiful to watch. That was a perfect head kick. And then I think my only real critique of Gary was, I mean, you have the height and the reach advantage. Why did he not use it that much? That's one thing that kind of irritated me throughout that fight. Is you have the reach advantage, you have the height advantage, capitalize on it.
I think we could see these guys fighting again sometime down the line. I really do. This was a close enough fight to where if you announced a rematch tomorrow, people would get excited for it. So I don't think that's going to happen right away. I think Islam will find himself against other top opponents in the division, and Machado Gary will take one or two more fights. And if he is successful in one or both, then that'll put him on the path to see Islam Makhachev sometime down the line, maybe in a couple years. Co-main was Mackenzie Dern versus Jillian Robertson. Dern really dominated here. Robertson really couldn't get anything going. And yeah, hopefully there's a more competitive fight for Dern down the line. That's what I would say about the co-main.
Yeah, I mean, I can't really. There's really not much I can really say. I mean, besides saying that this was probably one of the most lopsided fights I've seen. I mean, I feel like maybe the commentators were right, man. That maybe that Zhang Wei Li probably would have been a better test for Mackenzie. I think, but obviously she's doing whatever the hell she's doing. I think she's back home doing something. I think she got a makeover or something like that. But besides the point, like this was as lopsided as you could probably get. I mean, it was. I don't want to say as I expected, but I mean I didn't really expect much going into this fight. I kind of threw all expectations out the window and honestly just like was like, okay, this is gonna be another Mackenzie Dern type of fight where she kind of like grapples and try to like go for go for a submission and all that, but and that's pretty much what this was. I mean, I feel like I honestly don't know how to feel about this fight, man. It's one of those fights where it's like,
How
I mean,
how I feel about the co-main is how I feel about the whole undercard, right? I mean, the first three fights of the main card were unranked fun, and each one saw a finish, but the fights weren't competitive, right? Like
yeah,
we see a we see a knockout, and then we see a submission win. The submission win for Dustin Solfas was really cool, right? And
yeah,
we don't really get competition. We get cool knockouts, but we don't get competitive fights. And then the Mackenzie Dern fight is also very dominating. But that main event made it all worth it, man. Like
yeah,
we talk about 329, the undercard was one of the best undercards ever. And then the main event went to shit, and we don't remember the amazing undercard. Here it's like
yeah.
the opposite, right? Like the undercard wasn't very good, and we don't really care because the main event really delivered. And Islam Makhachev, he is the pound for pound king, but he does leave us bored after his fights more often than not. We weren't bored, in that
The
fight.
co-main was
It
a
was a
little
good fight.
boring, but I mean, but I mean, this was one. I think my main issue with this fight is that Mackenzie Dern was mainly. I mean, obviously, you're trying to prove a point when you're in the octagon, right? But I feel like, I mean, obviously, there was a lot of talk going in that Jillian was going to submit her and all that, and I think my issue was is that Mackenzie wasn't really looking for a finish. She was just trying to submit her just so she can prove a point. But I feel like you don't have to. You don't have to. You just go for the finish. Like sometimes, like go for the use your ground and pound. Use your ground game. Like this is like as lopsided as it could get. And I'll say this, man. Dern is starting to look much more like a complete fighter. I really don't think she's becoming a submission specialist anymore. I think she's really developing into an all around fighter. And but I just think that just try to like my only real piece of advice would be try to like really like work on like your finishing a little bit. I mean, obviously she's finished fighters before, but I think you have to like really like figure out like I mean dominate performances are fine, but like you got to kind of like figure out like where can I improve, I guess. I don't know. It was just as lopsided as you can get. I don't know if anything I said made
I
sense.
I really expected Robertson to bring a better fight. I was excited for this co-main. I really thought it was going to go back and forth, and I just I didn't think Robertson was ready for a big challenge like that yet. Seemed like she was. I had seen a couple of her fights leading up to this. Seemed like she was ready for a big moment in my mind. But Mackenzie Dern, also a very solid fighter. So yeah, so I guess this co-main just shows that there's levels to this shit, and we'll see what happens for Mackenzie Dern.
Yeah,
So there
there's
will be
definitely
a bigger fight for her in the pipeline.
yeah, there's
But
definitely
yeah,
level.
dude, like it's just so funny to me, like how we feel so amazingly about UFC 330. We got essentially one amazing fight out of it, which was the main event. And then we think about 329, and we think so negatively about it, even though every fight on the main card was just elite level, except for the McGregor return. It's hilarious to me. Just how that works. The main event is the only thing that matters, truly. It's funny. Um, Anywho, that was UFC 330. We will be seeing a lot more of UFC, right? We got a show in September and 2 numbered events in October. So over the next 2 months, we're gonna get 3 UFC numbered events. Of course, 333 just got announced. It's gonna be Marab versus Peter Yan 3, and then the main event is going to be, spacing it at the top of my head, what's the main event going to be for 333? Did you ever catch that card?
I believe. Well, I know 331 is the rematch between Alessandro Pantoja and Joshua Van. Main event for 333 is Volkanovski and Evoliv.
Oh,
And
right,
332
yes.
will be, I believe it is. They have not announced the main event yet for that one.
Yep. Well, these are all going to be great cards. I know that 333 card was looking incredible. Of course, I'm excited most for the co-main, which will be Marab versus Peter Yan 3. That'll be cool.
331 will be fun too. I think obviously the rematch between Alexandre Pantoja and Joshua Van will, obviously the first fight ended in tragedy, I guess. I ended in probably one of the worst ways to win a title. Obviously, injury to Pantoja. But now that Pantoja's back, I think now he's gonna really he's gonna come back for blood, and he's gonna want to take that title off of Joshua Van. And I think this fight will be a war. I truly believe that. I mean, these guys are known for the violence, man. They're known for their strong their rates, man. Like obviously Joshua Van's a finisher. He knocked out Tyra, finished Tyra in spectacular fashion. And then obviously Pantoja just ran through everybody at flyweight. So it's gonna be a fun card, man.
Yep. So in the
Fun main
next
event.
2 months, we get to see Volk. We get to see Pantoja return against Joshua Van. It's going to be awesome. That's going to be a huge fight, to your point. And then we're going to see what 332 has in store. The main event or the card has been announced for 332. Kind of weird, but kind of cool. We got a lot of good things in the pipeline for UFC. And we have the Dana White Contender Series. First episode just passed. That's going to be every Tuesday. Got that for the next 10 weeks. It's basically young up and coming fighters with potential. They face each other, and the winner will then, in theory, get a contract to the UFC from Dana White himself at the end of the show. Very fun. This is one of my favorite shows, like seriously, the Dana White Contender Series. So I definitely wanted to give it a shout out. You do enjoy it more like a TV show than you would like a UFC numbered event, but you do get the young up and coming fighters on the way in, and then they sometimes quickly make names for themselves. Josh Hokett was just on the Contender Series last year, and now he is ranked in the heavyweight division, one of the most talked about fighters, obviously for silly reasons. But, he's been getting those W's, and he's been making a star out of himself. Just wanted to shout out the Dana White Contender Series. And other announcements, we have some other Zuffa stuff that has been announced, as well as other big fights that are taking place in October. So let's go ahead and get into these announcements. Zuffa Boxing 10 took place a couple weeks ago. It was all right. It was cool. Zuffa 11 will be in the UK, and we did get a couple of these fights on the main card announced. We got the co-main, which will be Craig Richards versus Hot Rod Kalijic. Hot Rod was the first person to get a main card knockout in Zuffa boxing history. We've been waiting to see who he would fight next. In my mind, he is of the top 10 in the light heavyweight division. He's a great young light heavyweight. I think this will be a good co-main showing against Craig Richards. We'll see how it goes, essentially. Kind of looking for a bigger fight for Hot Rod after this, but Hot Rod is definitely one of those explosive fighters that really made Zuffa's name when they were starting out earlier this year. And then we got Lee Cutler returning against Lewis Green. That's going to be a middleweight bout. And that's all we got. We know Johnny Fisher will be fighting, and we know Kayla Allen will be making her pro debut otherwise. But we got 2 fights announced. Neither of those are the main event. Hot Rod versus Richards is the co-main. What are your thoughts on how Zuffa 11 is crafting out so far? I mean,
Look,
I'll just let you talk about it.
no, I mean, It looks strong on paper, man. I think obviously I'm looking forward to Lee Cutler coming back. Obviously, he's coming off that win over Aaron Aaron Sutton in June, so that's gonna be a fun fight. Obviously, his opponent is Lewis Green, so really experienced. It's the battle of the Brits, obviously, battle of the British middleweights. Obviously, Lewis Green defeated Daniel. How do you say Daniel Busick? I think that's how you say his last name.
Oh
Dan-
yeah, Bucic or
Busick,
Bucic.
Busick by
Yeah, that was that. That was
point.
it. That was at Zuffa 10.
Yeah,
It'll be good to see Lewis Green again. He was a very entertaining fighter, and Lee Cutler was also very entertaining when they were in the UK earlier this summer.
and
So
then
that'll be a scrap for sure. To
oh,
your
that's
point,
definitely scrap. And then obviously Craig Richards and Hot Rod. That'll be a fun card. Obviously, fun fight. Obviously, Richards coming, former world title challenger, most recently defeated Dan Aziz by stoppage, and he's obviously competed at some of the highest at a very high level, and he's definitely had some. He's definitely been on the radar for sure in terms of Britain's best. And as for his opponent, Hot Rod, man, like obviously veteran. His last three fights have all been defeats against Marcus Brown, Arthur Bertabiev, and obviously Sullivan Barrera. And this is a very important time in his career. I think he really needs this win. I think he's 30-3, 22 knockouts. I mean, this will be another fun scrap, man. I think if he can do what he did against Alexander, I can't even say that.
I
Uh,
remember that name from earlier
Ovedichek.
this year. Yeah,
Ovedichek. Yeah, Ovedichek, I think is his last name. If I butchered it, I apologize. But obviously, he stopped Alexander in February of 2026. So let's see if he can do it again.
that was a that he was honestly in trouble in that fight. I think he hit the canvas once or twice in the early rounds that fight, and then he had a late round comeback knockout. So if he could do that, if he could do that again, I think they're gonna want to give him something at light heavyweight. They're gonna want to give him some sort of big fight, depending on what scale he's at after his next fight. We'll see what happens, man.
Yeah,
That's
man.
not until September, so that'll be September 12th. And then
Excited
some
for
other
Johnny Fisher.
stuff.
Excited for Johnny Fisher as well.
Yeah, yeah. I want to see who they're fight. I want to see who they're having them fight. I want to see who they're having them fight for sure, and that'll probably be the main event. It'll be cool. It'll be cool.
Yeah, man.
Zuffa, I think, is in a spot where we know who they're trying to build in the different regions, and like they're trying to build something in Ireland. They're trying to build the UK. They've built the heck out of like Vegas. Like New York is their next target. A lot of the guys that they want to feature in these main events are guys that are coming up. Like it's gonna take a couple years. It's gonna take some time. But nonetheless, I think you're going the right way about it. It kind of feels like the territories in a weird way, like international
It does.
territories.
It really does.
Uh, it's cool. It's cool. It's really cool, and it's cool that we get to have that, and we also get to have uh just the unified world of boxing on the zone. Really, really cool. We got some stuff for October on that other side of the world of boxing. We will get a top 8 lightweight title fight for the vacant WBA lightweight title. We will have Floyd Schofield taking on Lucas Batty. This is going to be a fight that's taking place in October. And then also in October, what got announced is Osleis Iglesias. He's defending the IBF super middleweight title against Oliver Zarin. Kind of an unranked showcase fight for him there, a tune-up fight looking like. I guess it's been a while since he's been in the ring. And then, of course, we got the top 2 matchup between Emmanuel Navarrete and Shock Foster announced, which is going to just be an incredible big fight. What are you most excited for? I think the answer's got to be Navarrete versus Foster.
Oh, yeah.
They're
Oh, dude.
They're
Like
going to
it's
be
Navarrete.
unifying they're going to put the WBC, IBF, and WBO belts together, junior lightweight belts together. So that'll be huge. That'll be a huge freaking fight. Winner will probably go on to be undisputed. And this is going to be a hell of a scrap, dude. Like,
Oh yeah, I might actually go. I might actually try to go to this, man. Obviously, it's gonna be here, so try to go to that. Hopefully tickets are a little. Hopefully tickets are a decent price. But anyways, no, this fight is definitely gonna be one I'm looking forward to for sure because obviously you know me, I'm a big Navarrete fan, but I really love Osheki, man. I love this kid, and this is honestly gonna be a really massive fight. Obviously, these two are two completely different styles. They're obviously Navarrete is more known for his relentless pressure, high high punch out high punch output, and obviously his awkward angles. While Foster is more known for his defense and obviously counter punching. And Navarrete is going to definitely want to turn this into a war, while Foster is going to want to make Navarrete pay every time he comes forward. And obviously, 3 world titles are on the line, so this will be a really fun fight. Like, the biggest question is, can Vaquero finally become undisputed champion at 130?
yeah, yeah, that'll be huge. That fight will be huge. And then I think Schofield versus Batty is also a huge lightweight fight that I think will kind of show us who might be try to rise the ranks in lightweight. October seems like it'll be a good time if you like competitive back and forth. Either guy can win fights, which who the hell doesn't, right?
Yeah, of course. I mean, and that's the thing we love about these fights, right? Especially these like these type of fights. I mean, the unification fights, man, are always the best. I mean,
Yep, for
yeah, man,
sure.
definitely the best. I mean, as long as there's no bullshit, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'll say we're getting to a point where like the unification fights are meaning less and less because not, and I say that not in a bad way. I'm just trying to segue into the fact that we're getting a Rolly Romero versus Teofimo Lopez this weekend. Like that's not really a unification fight. It's for the WBA welterweight title. Um, Rolly hasn't defended the title in over a year. Both of these guys are not ranked in the welterweight division technically. I'm sure the winner and the loser will pick up ranks after this fight, most likely. Rolly fell out due to inactivity. Teofimo's coming up from junior welterweight. He was the champion, lost to Shakur earlier this year. Now he moves up to welterweight against Rolly Romero, one of the bigger entertaining welterweight fighters. Really has a unique, unorthodox style. Um, Interesting fella. Teofimo Lopez, obviously a big face of boxing, coming off a big loss. Definitely a huge fight to return into, and I think the winner of this fight really go the spoils is what I'm trying to say, right? Like it's just one belt, the WBA welterweight title, but I think the winner of this fight will be calling for Ryan Garcia, the winner of if Conor Ben defeats Garcia, then Conor Ben, right? And these are the types of guys that will be waiting for Shakur when he moves up to welterweight, whenever that is. So this is a main event that has huge implications, and it's not even a unification fight. It's just a WBA title,
No, I mean, and
which I will say the WBA belt means as much as any belt means in my mind.
yeah, and looking at this fight, obviously Rolly's last win was against Ryan Garcia by unanimous decision in 12 rounds. And I remember watching that fight, and man, that was a hell of a performance from Rolly. And obviously, his only real losses were against Tank Davis and Pitbull Cruz. So this is one of those fights where I think there's a lot on the line here, man. Obviously, the keys to victory for Raleigh are definitely you got to make Teofimo uncomfortable, you got to throw the left hook, and you got to attack the body. And Lopez, obviously, like you said, pretty big star. Obviously, former two division world champion with major victories over Lomachenko, Comey Cambosis Jr., Josh Taylor, and Arnold Barboza Jr. Obviously, his last loss was against Cambosa, George Cambosis Jr. by split decision. So, actually, no. He lost the unified lightweight bout to Shakur. So that was a rough patch for him. But I think now he's definitely going to try to come back he's going to try to come back and take the throne almost, man. I think he's going to try to take the throne from Rolly.
Yeah. And dude, this fight can go either way. This
Oh
fight
yeah,
is going to be one of those fights. Like this is going to be Daniel Dubois versus Fabio Wardley of the welterweight division. This is going to be a fight where you don't want to blink. I really think, they might take a second to get to, there might be a lot of tension. It might be slow in the beginning. I could definitely see that. But I think it's going to get to a point where both guys are going to hit the canvas at least once, and it can be either man's game in the late rounds. I really think it's going to get to that point. This is, of course, on the Ring Magazine Matchups of the Month. This is a PBC pay per view on the Zone. It's got a it's got a typical PBC undercard, I will say, but I will say just because these fights aren't competitive doesn't mean it can't be fun. Like in my mind, boxing is about the PBC Mexican Golden Boy undercards. You know what I mean? So that's kind of what we got here, man. We got in the co-main Victor Santillan defending the interim WBA junior featherweight title against Gary Antonio Russell. Like neither of these guys are like hugely solidified yet, but nonetheless, it's a competitive fight in my mind, right? And
and that's what makes it fun,
oh,
bro. Like, and
what's up?
I apologize for cutting you off, by the way. That's what makes it fun, right? Especially like we know very little like about these guys, or we know like we've seen them fight before, like but like probably in front of like on ESPN on at like 11 o'clock at night for no reason. But like that's the fun part about these fights is that like for the casual fans, like it's always the unknown guys, or like the guys that we're like the casual fans are familiar with, but like us, like we might be familiar with some of them. They always give us the best fights, man, and I think this will definitely be no different. So, but I apologize for cutting you off. I'll let you continue, my friend.
Oh no, you're good, man. I think people used to have a problem with this type of stuff just because, especially like with interim titles and kind of these weird pockets where it's not that competitive, but it's the best thing that the promotion could put forward. I think people had a problem with it when we weren't getting the big fights, but now we're getting the big fights. So we're also okay with continuing to have these PBC undercards for interim titles. Like the main card is opening up with Yohan Hernandez taking on an unranked opponent. Like he's second ranked in his division. He should be fighting at least someone in the top 10, right? Like that's more of a tune up, a showcase to open up the main card. But before we get to that co-main, man, we do have a young man's fight here. We have an undefeated Carlos Utria taking on Israel Mercado. So we'll see what that looks like. We really have no idea what that'll look like until we see it. And that's kind of what I'm learning about with some of these undercards, especially from the PBC, is you may not know who's fighting on the undercard, but usually it's well matched. Usually it's a good matchup. We're getting good matchups and we're getting big fights. I think there used to be a time where you look at this undercard and you say, what the fuck is this? But that hasn't been the case anymore. Like, you know?
Yeah, man. I mean, that hasn't really been the case anymore. I mean, and like I said, bro, I mean, like, I don't, but and that's the fun part about this, right? I mean, is that like I mentioned earlier, like that these guys the most unknown guys end up being the most entertaining fights. I feel like a lot of people underestimate how good these guys actually are. I mean, like I said, we like some like I like some of these guys. Like if as I'm looking at the card right now, like I think I do recognize Santillan and Russell because I believe they fought on a couple ESPN cards a few not that long ago, and I remember watching some of their fights. I could be wrong. I could be wrong. I
They
believe these
do
guys
seem
fought on
like, I think
top rank
they
before.
strike me as like top ranked guys. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
think these guys have fought on top rank before. I could be wrong, but I mean,
Well, these top ranked guys have been scattered throughout Queensberry stuff, Matchroom stuff. Like it's starting to not matter. You know what I mean? They're
no,
all like I that's kind of something that took a pretty quick effect like a few months ago when Top Rank went with DAZN. We started getting a lot more small shows in the United States broadcasting on DAZN, you know, and then we also just started getting a lot of American fighters in cards that seemingly didn't have as many American fighters before then.
yeah, and and I don't want to like keep singing top rank praises because this is not what we're kind of segueing off a little bit. But that's the one thing I've always loved about top rank, bro, is that like I find out about guys that people have never heard of, or like a lot of these underground fighters fighting in like small arenas for like maybe a couple thousand people. Like that's how I literally discovered guys like Emmanuel Navarrete, Foster, and all these others. Like what's his name? That one guy. What's his name? Oscar something. I forgot his last name, but like I find like that's why I find out a lot about a lot of these guys, man. Like that's the one thing I like about Top Rank. And
Yeah, I think like Top Rank puts on some big top rank shows sometimes, but I think what they're doing right now is they're just letting their fighters appear on other big shows that are already going. Like Matchroom is already going. So I feel like they got a lot of top rank fighters over there.
like,
Like,
oh yeah, Oscar Valdez is the guy. That's the one I was talking about.
yeah,
Oscar,
yeah, Valdez. Yeah, he's a
uh,
beast.
and obviously, hell, even Xander Zayas. Like I mean, I had heard of Xander Zayas beforehand, but I had never seen his fight, and I believe I watched the fight in Puerto Rico, I think, or wherever. No, New York. It was fight in New York. It was on like I think it was on Puerto Rican. It was on one of the big like Puerto Rican holidays or whatever. And
Yeah.
that was a fun fight.
Yeah. I just think like, you know, you think about if you grew up watching the PBC, like boxing is one thing to you. If you grew up watching Top Rank on ESPN, like boxing is one thing to you. And all these like old philosophies and ideas, like I'll call them traditional philosophies and ideas of like boxing, right? Like they have found a way to live on, and it's totally okay that they're not hurting anything by living on because we're getting big fights. They're not preventing big fights anymore. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does, dude. That definitely makes sense.
Like I feel like a couple of years ago I would have like complained about a lame PBC undercard and been like, "Damn, I really don't care about this." But now I'm kind of like, well, I get big fights all the time, so I'm excited to see some unknown boxing.
Yeah, and that's the good thing, right? I mean, not because I feel like if every fight is a big fight, then I feel like we won't have like nothing to fall back on. Like if every fight's a big main fight, like a big money fight, then I mean, I feel like the act will probably maybe get a little tiresome. I mean, I maybe again, that's a bit of a bold take, but I mean, I think that we have to grow. We learn to appreciate these unknown fighters, man. Is what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah, for sure. I really do think my mind has been going towards this recently because it's very clear that the current guard of boxing is going to live on and live on in its entirety with no interruption or change to how it's been for several decades at this point, right? They're all getting paid by the same banners. And that world is going to continue to exist. But simultaneously, there's going to be another world that exists where there's big cards on Paramount Plus and Netflix. And my mind goes to this question. And I know we're going way off track, but I like this conversation. My mind goes to this question. Is Zuffa Boxing going to be able to do the UFC model with Zuffa, right? So I'm not saying they have to like sell out the T-Mobile Arena once a month. I'm not saying that. I'm saying, can we get to a point where there's at least one title fight that main events the monthly show? And think about the rate that we're going right now. Zuffa's done a lot of shows and they're establishing a lot of stuff, but we have one champion, and that's Opataya at cruiserweight. We have no clue when the next one is coming, and we have no signs as to when the next one will be here, because you would think Shakur might be the next one, but he is a junior junior welterweight, right? He's a junior welterweight, and Zuffa doesn't do the junior divisions. So they're not going to have a crowning fight for him anytime soon. He's got to have one or two tune-up fights, it seems like. So can Zuffa get to a point? Because I like where they're going. I like that they're not just putting belts on anyone. I like that they're like, okay, you're the best boxer in the world if you have this one. Like, that's clearly what they're trying to do, which is what the Ring magazine already does as well. But can they get to a point where they could put on one show a month and have one Zuffa title fight, at least one main event? What are your thoughts? Can they get to that point? Obviously, it's not going to be anytime soon, but can they get to that point?
I think so, man. But there's a bit of there's a bit of an important difference. Boxing is not MMA. I mean, the UFC model works because UFC is effectively the league and promoter. Boxing is obviously completely different. I mean, we have all these different bodies, and I think it's hard, man. I think I do, like I said, I like what they're, like you said, I like what they're doing. They're not like rushing titles, right? They're not rushing anything. And I think that's why these Zuffa events are so important, because they're building a recognizable schedule and brand, rather than simply just putting belts on random cards. Like, and obviously we've seen what they've done. Like, they've built up Callum Walsh, they built up Opataya, and etc.
They're gonna have a blow up period in a couple
Oh
of
yeah,
years. They're gonna have a blow up period where there's like 6 to 8 champions, and we're gonna get close to that.
yeah, and
My
I mean,
thing is just like there's nothing that prevents them from accomplishing what they want to accomplish. But I don't know. Do we just see a future where boxing is healthy in the traditional sense and Zuffa is interesting too? Like,
so
it sounds too good to be true. Like,
yeah, it does, right? It really
with
does.
the way things are going right now, it sounds too good to be true.
I want that.
So does Zuffa struggle to crown champions because they're a underground diamond mine? You know, they're like a Ring of Honor of boxing. Like, does that prevent them from crowning champions?
I think so, man. I mean, because obviously, I mean, we said on the show that the rest of the bodies don't sanctioning bodies do not take Zuffa seriously, and that's the problem. Like, Zuffa can create its own championships, but the WBC, WBA, and all of them still have enormous influence and sway. And obviously, Zuffa's approach has already evolved. And Dana White originally showed little interest in working with the traditional sanctioning bodies, but now here we are, and he's acknowledging that. Now he's acknowledging the strategy to work with them. So I mean,
Yep.
I don't know, man.
And I
It's
think that can work. Like I think they can work together.
I think so too.
But it just sounds too good to be true.
It does, man. It really does. I mean, and I think instead of asking who does this fighter promote, you should like really say like, when is the next Zuffa fight? Like, I think that's the next thing, and I feel like that's the end game, bro. Like I think that's really like that's I think that's what our the end game should be, man. Like instead of saying like, oh, like who they trying to promote again? Like ask when's his next Zufa fight? That's what they want. That's what we should really be getting. Like these guys should be working together, not fucking divided, man. I don't know, man. I just it's too. It's I don't know, man. It might happen.
It, I think they'll work together. Like obviously, we're getting that with Garcia versus Ben, and I do think Ryan Garcia will come to Zuffa. From the things that he's saying, like it sounds like his plan is to finish out his contract with Golden Boy and then get paid by Dana.
Seems like it. I mean,
Like
obviously,
that's and he is, you know, he is boxing's young man right now. He
yeah.
really is. Like people know his name. People want to see him fight. Shakur is probably right behind him, right? And then I think in a couple of years we'll have further established other guys that keep winning, whether it's Rolly Romero, whether it's Teofimo Lopez, whether it's Gary Antoine Russell or Shushu Carrington.
Yeah, I mean, and
Like there's a lot of activity going on right now. This is a young man's sport right now, and if we hit 5 years, like a lot of these guys are going to be in their primes at the same time.
and to really answer your question, bro, I think if the UFC eventually has enough elite fighters, and they have a really decent amount right now, and enough champions, and obviously enough events, and obviously through the marketing power, then I really think maybe we could see something closer to the UFC. But I don't know. It's
I think that's their goal, man. I think
like, no,
that's
man.
what they want to do. They're not going to get there. Like I said, it's going to take like half a decade to get there. I see them getting to a point where we get one big show, like two big shows a year, and then they try to do four big shows a year at some point. But I think we keep it at 1 to 2 right now. You know, I think Zuffa had a lot to do with Tyson Fury coming back and fighting on Netflix, right? That was like the first big show this year outside of their regular Paramount Diamond Mine Zuffa boxing show.
Yep.
And then, you know, of course, Ryan Garcia versus Conor Ben will be another one. And I'm sure Fury versus AJ will be on Netflix as well.
Oh
And
yeah.
that's because of Dana White, you know, like that's that like it's not all uh explicitly Zuffa boxing. Like Dana, anything on Paramount Netflix, that's his work.
Yeah, man. I mean, I think they're just gonna try to change how boxing itself is organized. I mean, that's pretty
I,
much
I do I
like
do think Dana's trying to get to a point where he can have one championship fight a month. And that's going to take several years, but I think that's the end game.
yeah, for sure.
Because I think then people watch are like they're accustomed to watching UFC like that, so they will begin to watch Zuffa like that. But right now, Zuffa's in a warehouse with three main card fights, and while we know they're fun fights, the people that kind of look at the card and then choose not to watch it don't know that.
Yeah, I mean,
So we're kind of in an interesting point,
we are. We really
and
we're
I, I I think we'll be at an even more interesting point, like down the line. Like I think this is just the beginning. I think this type of collaboration and cooperation is just going to become normalcy. At least I hope so, man. I was joking around earlier, right? I was like, sounds too good to be true. Well, hopefully it's not.
oh shit.
Anywho, we have other than Rolly Romero versus Teofimo Lopez this upcoming weekend. We have an MVP women's card. We have Amanda Serrano defending the ring and unified featherweight championship against Lucrecia Mansour. That will be a solid showing. We'll see a lot of MVP women's shows. They got 3 scheduled for the month of August. This is the second of 3 this month alone. So we'll see that on the 21st. Rolly Romero versus Teofimo Lopez on the 22nd. And yeah, that is it. Oh, yes, of course. Before we go, Clarissa Shields got the finish against K Scott and has added the unified middleweight championship to her collection of belts. her gigantic collection of belts. And if you were watching UFC 330, the main event was literally on directly after. So it was really cool. It was
Yeah.
it was a doubleheader.
Yeah, I mean, what an interesting time to be a fan, bro. Really, I mean, like we say, I mean, it's what a time to be alive, honestly, man. Like, I mean, we always say it on the show, and I mean, I stand by it, bro. Like, I mean, we're in a real interesting spot for boxing. Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. It's crazy, and I'm excited, man. You
me too.
know, after Rolly and Teofimo, the weekend after that, we're gonna have Moses Atama versus Filip Hrgovic for the IBF heavyweight title. So that's gonna be huge. Like, we just got stuff going every weekend. We were just supremely entertained by the pound for pound king Islam Makachev and Ian Machado Gary. That was one of the most fun fights I've seen in a while.
Oh yeah,
Honestly, like,
that's awesome.
I was very bummed after the Conor McGregor stuff, and now I'm like, all right, UFC baby. Plus, we got the Dana White Contender Series going. Ryan Garcia versus Conor Ben is coming up. That's going to be a big one. Yeah, stay tuned with the Lights Out podcast, man. We're pretty much going to be releasing an episode every week at this point, just because of the amount of solid entertainment that we're getting right now, man. This is awesome. Hop on the boxing train, trust me. Like, it's going to take years, and if it keeps moving in the direction that it's moving, it's going to be glorious in 10 years, 5 years. Like, we're really seeing a resurgence right now. Of course, you have Turkey Al Sheikh and now also Dana White pouring money into it when it feels like nobody's poured money into it in a while. So it feels like it's just the beginning, and it's already crazy what's transpired and what is to transpire.
Yeah, I mean, it's gonna be an interesting time these next couple months, and obviously, if you're like we said on the show, man, if you're not big into boxing, like, man, come on, man, like, come see what you're missing. Like, this is a really interesting time to be a fan. Like, I think we're gonna it's gonna be fun, man. I think these next couple months are gonna be fun. Obviously, we're gonna have a lot to talk about on this show every single week, and I look forward to it, man. Obviously, doing this, like, this is fun. This is awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm excited. We'll be back to see who won between Rolly Romero and Teofimo Lopez. Hopefully, we come back praising a good undercard. I'm hoping at least a couple of those fights are fun. Some of those PBC undercards can be painful. So we'll see how it goes. But hey, man, this has been the Lights Out podcast, man. This has been a fantastic episode. The wheel keeps spinning. You just got to roll with the punches.
Yep.
You just got to roll with the punches and do something with your life, you little bitch.
Boom. Woo!
What a beautiful outro.